Greetings, friendos, and welcome back to the Oxlayer for yet another video in my exclusive little series. Today I'd like to share with you all some literature from my personal childhood that after years and years of searching, I've finally been able to acquire. Behold, the book Halloween Poems by Mira Cohn Livingston. I just want to pause right here and apologize, because I'm sure I've mispronounced that somehow. As I was saying, this children's book, written by Mira Cohn Livingston, was illustrated by Stephen Gammell. Yes, folks, the same Stephen Gammell who illustrated these particular books. This book was originally published by Holiday House in September of 1989, and contained within these pages are 18 different poems that, if the title hasn't given it away already, revolve around the theme of Halloween, covering a range of different topics from apple bobbing to trick-or-treating. Now, one thing I will openly admit to is the fact that for the longest time, I did not know the name of this book. I had no idea what the title was. In fact, the only reasons why I remembered it at all were several of the illustrations and a few lines from the apple bobbing poem, because my goofy brain, for whatever reason, decided to cling onto those with a fiery passion. One such image is this little fella right here, who also happens to be featured on the back of the book. Weirder still is that I had associated a poem with this image that isn't actually in the book. As a matter of fact, I believe I may have even made it up at some point, but that particular string of words went as follows. Speak of the devil, it's Cousin Neville. I truly don't understand why these snippets from the apple bobbing poem were the only bits that clung to my brain along with that image, but I'm certainly glad for it, because if not, this book would have faded from my memories much like Bing Bong in Disney's Inside Out. And that would have been a tragedy. So thank you, Pumpkin Child, you wonderfully kooky little ghoul, for having stuck around, clinging to my memories, and keeping that particular flame alight for all these years. Regarding the book itself, I'm not sure if this publication was a book fair exclusive or if this was only sold to libraries, but what I can say is that it was a rather tough one to find. Leading up to my online purchase of this, I had spent literal years trying to locate a copy in thrift stores, at yard sales, flea markets, etc., but with no luck. It wasn't until I started looking across the internet that it finally fell into my grasp. So now, without further ado or build-up, let's read some of the poems and have ourselves a spooky time, shall we? Let's see, where should we start? Where should we start? I suppose the best place to start is the beginning. Now, how's that for a start to this book? Some ghoulish action going on. Oh, this was the first edition. Nice. Alright, we'll start right at the very beginning of the book with the poem Halloween. Give you all a moment to take in the imagery. Halloween. Tonight is the night when dead leaves fly, like witches on switches across the sky, when elf and sprite flit through the night on a moony sheen. Tonight is the night when leaves make a sound, like a gnome in his home under the ground, when spooks and trolls creep out of holes, mossy and green. Tonight is the night when pumpkins stare through sheaves and leaves everywhere, when ghoul and ghost and goblin host dance around their queen. It's Halloween. Apple bobbing. This is that one that I was talking about that, for whatever reason, stuck in my mind, and I think you'll understand why here in a moment. But first, I'll show you the illustration that goes with it, and the next poem, Skeleton. Apple bobbing. Bobbing for blub blub for apples, for bobbing, for bobbling, for boppling, for apples, in tubs. For bapples, blub, apples, for bopples, for blapples, for bouncing red apples, bob apples, blub blub. That's the whole poem. Alright, so I already showed you the illustration for this next one, which is titled Skeleton. tink plonk conkle, midnight wind chime, clinking clanking dancing to the tonkle plink conk of its own hollow dangling bones. I should also mention that these were in a similar fashion to Alvin Schwartz and his Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series. It appears that these poems were collected by Miss Mira Cohn Livingston. It even says right here on the cover, selected by Mira Cohn Livingston. So unfortunately, I accidentally threw some information in there that was incorrect. These are not written by her, these were selected by her for this particular tome. Now then, Wicked Witch's Kitchen. Give you all a moment to appreciate that artwork. You're in the mood for freaky food? You feel your taste buds itching? For nice fresh poison ivy greens, try Wicked Witch's Kitchen. She has corn on the cobweb, cauldron hot. She makes the meanest cider. But her broomstick cakes and milkweed shakes aren't fit to feed a spider. She likes to brew hot toadstool stew. Come eat, my sweet, she'll cackle. And if you do, you'll turn into a jack-o'-lantern's jackal. Alright, next we have Trick or Treating at Age 8 and Watchdogs. But we're going to start with Trick or Treating at 8. There are no ghosts, no goblins or beasts, but geese that wing their dark way past the moon. There aren't any witches, only mothers who open the door and ask, "What are you?" And even at night, no monsters come out, no ghouls or bats, just the boys. A few years older, with legs a little longer, hooting up and down the neighborhood, who chase me all the way home. Aw, that doesn't sound very fun at all. And Watchdogs. Flat blonde seeds, big as my thumbnail and shaped like pointed footballs. We planted 5 to a hill in our creekside garden. You wouldn't believe the tangled vines running every which way. Butter yellow blossoms slowly swelled to green balloons. By fall they'd turned orange, grown huge, lots I couldn't carry. I helped Dad carve jagged-toothed faces. We lit candle stubs, left them wavering, set 2 on the front porch. They looked neat from the road, so bright, scary. Next we have The Magic House. We should have known when we tasted the eaves, breaking them off like toffee and cramming them into our mouths, and the dear little windows the color of coffee and chocolate doorknobs, and window panes striped with mint. We should have guessed at the chimney smoke, white marshmallow fluff, taken the hint from the marzipan bricks, and the fence posts made of bone rubble, but it was only when we saw the witch that we knew we were in deep, deep trouble. Okay, I like that. I like that one a lot. That is a very good one. From Ghoulies and Ghosties, along with the illustrations going with Incident on Beggar's Night. From Ghoulies and Ghosties and long-leggedy beasties and all things that go bump in the night, good Lord, deliver us. Incident on Beggar's Night. Melissa put on ragged clothes, a pointy hat, a putty nose, and when she found the kitchen broom, she sailed around the living room. She said, "I'm not about to quit until I've got the hang of it." At first she kept her eyes shut tight until she swept into the night. Into the night's October chill, past city lights and rising still, softly she bumped against a cloud. She cackled, thumped it, cried out loud. "Oh, look at what a world I see! I think I've got the hang of me!" Melissa steered up, up, and soon she disappeared behind the moon. Okay, now we've got another one. Pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin bright. Pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin bright. When the goblins ride tonight, guide me with your kindly light, pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin bright. Pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin grin, Cheshire cat and tigerkin, night without and light within, dancing, darting, pumpkin grin. Pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin head, when my treats or tricks are said, will you light me to my bed, kind old father Pumpkinhead? Pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin pie, I'm so sad that I could cry. Why, dear Papa Lantern, why must you end as pumpkin pie? Pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin bright, autumn lantern in the night. You'll be back next year, all right? Pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin bright. All right, we got another twofer. We have Wailed a Ghost in a Graveyard at Kew and A Halloween Problem. This one was actually written by Mira Cohn Livingston. Wailed a ghost in a graveyard at Kew, oh, my friends are so fleeting and few, for it's gravely apparent that if you're transparent, there is no one who knows if it's you. A Halloween Problem. My mother dressed my little brother like an astronaut in tinfoil, even his boots, and she gave him a flag to carry. And she dressed my little sister like the Queen of Hearts, with hearts all over her ballerina dress, and she gave her a cupcake to carry. But I dressed myself, like a jack-in-the-box. I cut one leg off my tights, let one sock fall down, I put lipstick stars on my cheeks, and cut holes in my father's hat, and stuck a bell on my shoe. What else can I do? I could carry the bell in a cup, but I don't want to ring when I jump. Such a quaint one. We three, and boys, there's something behind them. Let's see what this one says. We three went out on Halloween, a pirate, an ape, a witch between. We went from door to door. By the light of the moon, these shadows were seen, a pirate, an ape, a witch between, and... Say, how did we get to be four? Oh, Nikes. Yeah, that one's got an edge to it. That one's got some bite to it. All right. Got another twofer, ladies and gentlemen. Jack and All Hallows Eve. My mother brings me to visit a Sicilian cemetery. That is honestly what it's called. See, here's Jack, and she takes her to the Sicilian cemetery. Jack. My jack-o'-lantern cackles into flame, his bright orange belly filling with a fire that flashes from behind his laughing face. Frightened shadows leap from place to place. Jack twists his mouth into a terrible grin and yells "Boo!" with fire blazing past his teeth. The shadows flap like startled bats, then fall. Jack sits laughing in the middle of it all. Thank goodness he comes for Halloween. That Jack, he's such a spooky thing. All Hallows Eve. My mother brings me to visit a Sicilian cemetery. Below the hill the cemetery sits, a small city of the perfectly behaved. Among the bushes and grass and pine trees, statues of angels rest their wings. Like a goat I hop on tombstones and stone walls. My mother calls, "Come down, you might get hurt." I run to where two lions guard the cemetery's gate. One sleeps and one's wide-eyed. I turn away from the sleeping lion. Always, always, I ride the wide-eyed beast. Pumpkin People. The pumpkin people camp inside your jack-o'-lantern's pumpkin hide, though you won't find them much about until you scoop the center out. The seeds and all that stringy stuff, make sure you scrape it clean enough, and neatly carve the eyes, ears, nose, and, carefully, the teeth in rows. Since that's where pumpkin people enter, to set up camp right in the center, around the brightly gleaming candle, which as you know's too hot to handle. They toast marshmallows on long forks, pull sparkling apple cider corks, and stuff themselves with tricks or treats, the same that everybody eats, until their belts are stretched and groaning. Just listen hard, you'll hear them moaning. There while your jack-o'-lantern glows, through eyes and teeth and ears and nose, the pumpkin people loll inside. You'll almost see them where they hide. Between the flames' flash and its flicker, look, quickly! Nope, they've scampered quicker. But when the candle's stub is snuffed, the pumpkin people, crammed and stuffed, with sweets to hold them for a year, and smiling still from ear to ear, roll round the floor and out the mouth, and far away north, east, west, and south, until next Halloween rolls round, when once again they won't be found. Kind of like this one. It's got a nice little thing to it. One thing I don't, the one illustration that kind of gets me is right there in the middle, the guy staring over the fence. Just, there's something about him, something that doesn't quite sit right with me. Alright, we're on to Halloween Concert. Elbows bent, tireless hammering out its own time in double time, up and down the wooden alphabet, X-Y-L-O-P-H-O-N-E. This is music for dancing bones. At midnight skeletons will hear the sound, kick up their heels, lock elbows, crack finger bones, swivel their white skulls, and focus. Focus the empty eye sockets on me. Well, it's a little intimidating, wouldn't you agree? I've got to say, I like the title of this band here, their name, Virgil and the Ghouls. Don't know if anyone else saw that down here on the drummer's drum kit. Alright, let's see here. Alright, we're on to the very last poem, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Next day. Sounds slightly ominous, doesn't it, for some reason? Though fiends slink back to their lairs, and witches' grins go wan, some signs are yet to be found. A splattered egg, a straggle of shaving cream, and chalked in the road a gleefully wicked word. What a pleasant way to spend some time together, eh, folks? I hope you've all enjoyed this book as much as I've enjoyed reminiscing about it and reading it to you all. With that said, I just want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. I do truly and greatly appreciate it, from each and every single one of you ghouls, goblins, and all macabre manner of being in between. It really does warm my cold little black heart. With that said, I just want to say unto you, my viewing audience, viewers beware, and subscribe if you dare.
And now, for the sake of giving credit where credit is due, because I forgot to do this as I was reading the poems, like the imbecile that I can be sometimes, let's go over the names of all the poets who wrote all those poems. Halloween was written by Harry Ben, B-E-H-N. Apple Bobbing was written by R.H. Marks. Skeleton was written by Lee Bartlett. Wicked Witch's Kitchen at X.J. Kennedy. And apparently Trick or Treating at age 8 was written by Liz Rosenberg. Watchdogs was written by Jim Thomas. The Magic House was written by Jane Yolen? Again, I'm going to apologize for having mispronounced any of these, because I'm sure I have. From Ghoulies and Ghosties was taken, quote-unquote, from a Cornish litany. Incident on Beggar's Night was written by J. Patrick Lewis. Pumpkin, Pumpkin, Pumpkin Bright by N.M. Bodecker. Wail the Ghost in a Graveyard at Kew was written by Myra Cone Livingston. A Halloween Problem was written by Sandra Stone. We Three was written by Lillian Moore. Jack was written by Deborah Chandra. All Hallows Eve was written by Emmanuel D. Pascal. Pumpkin People was written by John Ridland. Halloween Concert was written by Barbara Juster Esbenson. And Next Day was written by Valerie Worth.